Does HR ghost candidates when you apply for jobs? Well, as someone that is in HR and has applied for a lot of jobs over the years and experienced this myself, I'll tell you that sometimes they do, but maybe not in the way that you're thinking. So let me explain from somebody that works in this industry and sees tons of job applications come in, what's really happening on the inside. So first of all, to give you guys a little bit of perspective, when I post a job to try to hire somebody on Indeed or LinkedIn right now, I'm getting between 60 and 110 people applying per day. Now, out of that 60 to 110 people, which is a lot if you think about it, if I run that job ad just for a week, we're talking, over 500-600 people at that point. So once I post that job, of the people that are actually qualified for that job, maybe I get 5 to 10 people that are actually qualified for the role. And what happens is people are mass applying for stuff and they just see something and they do their quick applies and they're running through and they're applying for a ton of stuff. So it takes a lot of sorting from an HR or hiring manager just to get down to the pool of the people you're actually going to interview. So what's supposed to happen in the system is once we get down to the people that we want to interview, you call them up, you set your 3 interviews for the top 3 candidates that you're going to do, and then you continue on your hiring journey to pick your person. Then at that point, you don't close the job ad out. Maybe, and for anybody that doesn't know this, you're paying per day to push the job ad up. So we're not paying to push it up anymore once we've got the actual candidates that are there. But until somebody's selected, you can't close the job ad because you have to have a candidate pool. So that job ad will remain open. So you're interviewing these people and people might still be applying in the background. And I've had to go back to that new batch of people before if those 3 people didn't work out for one reason. They took another job, they moved, they didn't want the job, the pay wasn't right, whatever. So when you get down to the people that you actually want to hire, then you go in the system and you click that the position has been filled. And then the system is supposed to generate an email with the parameters that you put in there that says, hey, Bob, unfortunately, you were not chosen for this position. A candidate with better experience or, that lined up better with what the job description had listed is who was hired for this position. That's what's supposed to happen. Now, I'll tell you as somebody that's applied for jobs on LinkedIn and Indeed before, I often don't get that email or sometimes you get that email automatically, meaning that you apply and automatically you're being rejected. So first, let's talk about that and how you guys can fix that. If you apply for a job and you're getting a rejection with 24 hours, believe me, with 60 to 110 people applying for a job, they're not automatically going through and looking at each one and sorting it out and sending you specifically a rejection email. That's the system, the internal applicant tracking system, kicking your resume back because it didn't fit. Now, it didn't fit often, and I know this is hard to hear, but we have to be realistic when people are trying to get jobs so that we can help each other, is that people have lines, symbols, and photos on their resumes, which make the applicant tracking software say doesn't fit because there's a symbol it doesn't recognize that it's not supposed to be a resume and it kicks it back. So your resume should always be saved in PDF and it shouldn't have any lines or symbols. All you want to have on your resume is plain text and maybe some bullets underneath the lines of what jobs you've done with what duties and achievements that you had. Keep it plain text. Trust me, as somebody that's been through this with many people to help them get hired when they were having trouble. Now, if you're not getting these automatic rejections, if the rejection is coming far later, that has to do with the first description I gave you, where we're going through the process of trying to find somebody to see if these 3 main people that we've picked, or 5 main people maybe, worked out for the job. But to give you an idea, with that many people applying to a job, a lot of people are going to get rejected. We only need 1 person often to fill that position. Now, the other thing that does happen all the time that's completely unfair, and I have experienced myself, is where you go and you interview for multiple rounds at a place and then they ghost. Now, if you're wondering, how can they do that to someone that spent their time, their money, maybe flights, drove in for several interviews, got on Zooms, Teams, all this stuff? What often happens, guys, is that companies are going down that line and they'll go, okay, this is the candidate that we think we want. And then they take it to their superiors and their superiors might say, I don't think this is really the right person, or there's a budgetary constraint. And for anybody that's ever worked in a company, you know that some days a company will be like, we really have to get these people hired right now. And then maybe there's a little budgetary tightening later that week and they're like, oh, we're not hiring anybody right now. That stuff happens all the time at companies. And it's not a great look. It's not a stable look, but it does happen when people are looking at numbers and trying to work through financials. So people don't often get a word back, or if they select somebody, they're like, okay, Bob's the one that we want, then the company should take the time, especially if you've interviewed, to call the people back and say, hey, Sally, we ended up going with somebody else for the position. We want to thank you for interviewing. We'll keep your resume on file and we wish you the best. We're sorry it didn't work out. That's what is supposed to happen. But people are human. People have time constraints. And absolutely for myself, when I don't end up selecting somebody, I try to get back to it and let them know. But I will also tell you, as somebody that's been on the other side of this, somebody that's been an employee looking for a job, trying to get hired, no answer is an answer. If you don't hear back from a company, keep moving on with other companies. Even if you get a job offer or if you're interviewing with somebody, do not stop applying in this market because companies pull job offers all the time. Companies rescind them. Companies don't end up hiring for the position. Whatever, somebody doesn't clear a background check for a legitimate or illegitimate reason. Whatever it happens to be, guys, never put yourself in a position where you don't have some other options. So always keep applying. I hope this helps. Let me know what you think. If you think it's a bunch of crap that companies just don't care and get back to people, you can put that in the comments as well. But I'll tell you, as somebody that's been on both sides of it, I think most people are well-intended and do try to get back to people, but sometimes the system doesn't work and sometimes people don't get back to people. Neither one is great. And I've been, the victim of both myself, but it doesn't feel good when it happens. Let me know what you think.